Now, after there was a release of information by WikiLeaks, right, on the fact that the government of Botswana and the government of the USA were discussing secretly about establishing an American military base in Botswana, right? They wanted to establish it in a place called Molepolole, right? Molepolole, which is about 60 kilometers from Gaborone, right? So when this came out in around 2011, right, the ANC Youth League, led by Julius Malema, right, uh, basically demanded that there must be a regime change in Botswana because they wanted to put a military base in the southern African region. Now, let us look at the importance or the threat of having a military base in southern Africa, right? With a military base, right, in Botswana, right, it means that, and it is an airbase, right? It means that the US can bomb any capital city that is in the surrounding regions of Southern Africa within minutes, right? They can bomb Windhoek within minutes. They can bomb Harare within minutes. They can bomb Manzini, right? They can bomb Maputo, right? They can even bomb Johannesburg or Cape Town, literally within minutes. So this is what the uproar was about from the ANC Youth League, which was led by Julius Malema around 2011. Now, Julius Malema emphasized that this won't be a coup, right? But because there was not going to be any training of soldiers or people going to the bush, but rather he was looking at basically uniting the opposition in Botswana, right? And then advocating for regime change, right, through the ballot, through democratic means. Now, the Tebe Patswe military air base, right, was basically built and completed around the early 90s, right? And it was built with hefty military installations, right? Like underground advanced bunkers for specifically stealth fighter jets. In 2002, relations between Zimbabwe and the UK started to sour because of UK not keeping its end of the deal in regards to the Lancaster Agreement. Now, Mugabe decides to take the land by force. Now, this coincided with the defeat of US backed forces in the DRC, right? Now, after that defeat, the US and UK came and stationed themselves in Botswana, right? The airbase known as Tebe Patswa, right? The US and UK were based there, right? Now, Tony Blair, the Prime Minister of UK, then was tempted to invade Zimbabwe then, right? This was around the time of quiet diplomacy that was being pushed by the president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, right? I remember also Thabo Mbeki in an interview mentioning that Tony Blair wanted to invade Zimbabwe, right? And he structured it as if the quiet diplomacy prevented the attack or the invasion of UK in Zimbabwe, right? But the only reason that the UK didn't invade Zimbabwe is because the US was about to invade Iraq, right? They were about to invade Iraq. And then because of that, right? Because UK wouldn't necessarily get backing from the US because US wants to attack Iraq, right? Zimbabwe was dropped, right? So this is how an invasion was prevented. It wasn't any special diplomacy from, I would say, Thabo Mbeki, but it's because the US already had plans to invade Iraq. And the UK decided to basically support the United States in this endeavor. Right. Now, in 2014, Julius Malema was refused a visa by the Botswanian government, right? Now, the Botswana government didn't really give a reason why they did this, but it was around the time when Julius Malema was pushing for regime change in Botswana because of the threat of the American military base, which will be based or which was based in Botswana, right? Julius Malema also mentions a study which was done by the South African government, right, on how long a fighter jet would take to actually bomb the Union buildings. Now, I want to be specific here, right? When we say fighter jets, right, they are most typically going to use these three types of jets: an F-35B, right, or an F-15EX Eagle fighter, or a B-2 Stealth Spirit bomber, right? Now, these three stealth fighter jets have the ability to undermine a country's sovereignty in minutes, right? Because it's so close to major points in not only in South Africa, but every other country around Botswana, right? So when Julius Malema speaks about South Africa or the Southern African region facing a similar situation to that of Russia, having an enemy military base right close to the border of South Africa, or right close to a number of countries in the southern region of Africa. This is quite a problem. It is a military threat, right, that we need to look at and be very careful of, right? Now, the one solution that I am advocating, Julius Malema is speaking about a regime change in Botswana. Regime changes are messy and they take long, right? What I would suggest, right, is that the military or South Africa must buy something called an S400 Triumph air defense system from Russia, right? This air defense system can detect stealth fighter jets like the F-35, right? It can detect the F-35 at a distance of about 32 kilometers, right? The S400 Triumph air defense system can detect the F-15EX Eagle fighter at a distance of about 321 kilometers. So instead of changing an entire government, we'd rather put in systems like the S400 air defense system, right? And just fill them up in a province called Northwest, because most of Botswana is bordering South Africa in a province called Northwest. So if you can put a number of air defense systems that are specifically from Russia, the S400 Triumph air defense system can help us a lot. But if we get this system, it will come with sanctions because it prevents the F-35, which is owned by NATO and the US, from undermining the sovereignty of a country. So my solution to the threat of the military base in Botswana, right, specifically an airbase, is the S400 Triumph air defense system from Russia. And I think things would actually balance out, right? And yeah, I think that's the direction South Africa should take. And yeah, we can think about it, and I'll see you in the next video.